Hi, welcome to the Mental Wellness Journey. Honor the Authentic You. I am privileged today to have Kat Dillon with us. And Kat is a registered holistic nutritionist and wellness speaker. She's a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. She's a certified food and spirit practitioner, certified first line therapy practitioner, certified transformational wellness coach, and she focuses on alignment and wellness for mental health concerns using food, gentle motivation, and education for her clients, embracing all levels of change and encouraging familiarity with innate wisdom from one's own body. She teaches the art of listening to the inner self, empowering everyone to help facilitate their own healing. Using food as her first line of healing, she has guided clients through the waters of digestive difficulties, food intolerance, anxiety, depression, insomnia, food cravings, weight loss resistance, metabolic disorders, allergies, hormone and immune system imbalances. So you are like perfect for this, and I'm so excited to speak with you because this summit is you and what you do. So maybe share with me a little bit about how you got here. We don't have to go super in depth, but how does one go from nutrition and into kind of a unique perspective that you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I am, a lover of nutrition and the response of the body and feeling well. As a child, I'm the only child, so I had to really get in and have my own ideas and projects. I'm sure a lot of people out there that can relate to being a child that has to discover things around them to gather momentum on just being a kid and learning, growing. And so I'll never forget. I was I used to like during summertime, I'd watch TV like all the kids would. And I got on to finding on the channel, if everybody remembers, Lilius Yoga. Lilius.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the program called Lilius Yoga and You. And between that and Jack LaLanne, I don't know what it was, but I just loved, they would express how taking the time to really move your body and breathe can really change your life. And as a kid, I don't know what, I took that in. And I really, I knew that there was something more to, like playfulness and learning and everything more to life than just, doing that. So I really kind of explored that later on in my life. I became a personal trainer. I did a little bit of yoga. I'm not I don't teach yoga, but I did take some classes to become an instructor. And then I fell in love with food. My parents were big cooks. My dad was a restaurant manager, and food was always a big deal in my household. So yeah, and
Sense now. Yeah.
yeah. I remember being like 8 years old and cooking my first dish of veal scallopini. So I was a weird child. And
That's great.
And it's funny, those passions still live with me today. The food, the breathing, the aspect of connection with self. And so as I grew up and as I gained more experience, I went to school, I went to university, studied nutrition, got out of that. And I decided at the time where I was studying nutrition, it was like the industry was completely different than when it was today. It was very kind of wrapped around calories in, calories out, fear of fat. And I was just like, I didn't want to be in it. So I left and I wanted to study culinary arts because that's really where my heart was at the time. I didn't want to freak out about food and tell people not to eat food and count calories and be afraid of food. So that's what I did. I went to culinary school and then worked in restaurants, worked as a personal chef for a number of people in the neighborhood, and worked in several restaurants, opened up a cafe with my husband. We called it Cafe La Di Da.
I love it.
Yeah, I worked, actually, I co-opened as a chef in Vancouver. a place called Enthuse, and then worked for many other restaurants in San Diego and Vancouver. So after doing that, that's when I decided that I wanted to get deeper into nutrition again, because I knew that nutrition was evolving, and it got into more holistically driven nutrition, not about labels, reading. Of course, you want to read labels, but it's more like how we're living. The whole paradigm. It's not just the food. It's what we do on the side. It's how we sleep. It's how we interact with others. It's maybe also looking at our digestion. It's not just one organ we're looking at. We're looking at the whole shebang, the whole global perspective. So, so that's where I am pretty much today. And, I love the field because I get to do so much. It's almost like a balance of science and spirituality or creativity, right? And you get to mix all of it together and kind of, when a client comes to me, I don't have like a set program that I give them. I really listen and want to listen to what their main complaints are, but also what their backstory is, because we all hold in a lot of these notions and a lot of these belief patterns in our body. And a lot of us have these issues we've carried for ages. And this is why I'm so interested in the chakras, because what we have going on in our past beliefs, maybe unprocessed beliefs, situations, stories in our minds, lodge into certain areas of our body. And it's so fascinating, Dr. Laurie, because, these chakras develop at different life stages. There's 7 of them that I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And you mature through your life and you develop these chakra systems, and whatever happens in your life at certain periods of time may affect those chakras. If you've had some, whatever it is, if it's trauma with a big T or a little t, it all
That's a wonderful way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it all wraps up, and we can have certain issues at certain times of our lives. I know for me, I had a lot of stuff happen in my life around the ages of, I don't know, 7 and 11, but all, at all times. Being a kid is just unbearable, right? It's like, I couldn't wait to be an adult, right? That was me. That was my experience. I always wanted to be really mature for my age. And I kind of grew up fast, but for many, it's just all different. And just being able to have this as as sort of like a guideline, as a tool, something in your toolkit, really help people really tune in. And I think that's the first step in any kind of practice that you're doing, whether it's breath work, meditation, whether it's trying to just relax more. The first thing you want to do is just tune in, right? Yes. It's not about judging those thoughts, judging those emotions you're having. It's just finding out where they are and identifying them and seeing, wow, what is that? Just this notion of self-discovery through looking at these particular chakras in our bodies that are, if people on the other side aren't aware or aren't, they probably heard of chakras and maybe they're just not sure of what they are. Basically what they are these energy systems that go from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown of your head. And these energy systems, they're like, if you can just imagine, they're spirals and they're always moving, and they take energy from the outside and they bring it in, and then they take the energy in and bring it out, right? It's all about energy. And that, I think, is the problem. And I wouldn't maybe say it's a problem, but when we look at allopathic medicine and we look at just the general mainstream medicine, of course we need medicine and we need, conventional doctors and practitioners. But the thing that they miss is that energetic area, that the stuff that we don't see, the feeling, right? It's something that I find that once we target that, we get a lot more results in our programs with people. At least I did.
Yes.
When I started learning about the chakras, I started through my my absolute favorite teacher and mentor named Deanna Minnick
Yeah.
in Washington. And she's, Dr. Laurie, you know her, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love her. She's like amazing. And it's so funny because like when we know some of the same people, you and me. And so when I knew of you, I had that sense about you, even though I didn't know you were connected to her. So.
Right. So she's really motivating to me because she's got the brain that is, she's got that logical sense, but then she's got this other side that she's an artist, she's a yoga instructor. And when you connect with her, she's just talk about a balanced brain. It's really incredible. But, getting off on that, went on a little bit of a tangent there. Just bringing in these chakras, looking at how we can identify what's going on and where we might be blocked, because these are channels, like I said, base of the spine all the way up, and they can become blocked or imbalanced, and how we can, bring them back into balance is by doing a whole host of things that are really interesting and quite fun. I'm going to be talking a lot about food, but there are things you can do also, like if you're interested in affirmations. Some people are, some people aren't, whatever works.
Interested in what? I just didn't hear the word.
Affirmation work, okay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Also looking at the ideas of color, because these chakras are energy. What is color? Color is energy.
Yeah,
right?
That's so you too, because you're all about color.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe that I needed to feel more fire today. So that's why I chose it. Subconsciously, I chose rose or red to wear because I wanted to pull that in. So, looking at color, looking at affirmations, as I said, looking at the food, what the chakras signify, they're sort of correlate. So we're sort of correlating the anatomy and the physiology to what that area of the body is actually responsible for. For instance, I'll give you an example.
This is great.
So the root is comprised of our DNA. It's also comprised of the soles of our feet, our legs. So anything that's rooting us, right? So then we look at the psychological or sort of lifestyle issues involved with that. And that might be feeling a sense of connection, feeling a sense of community, a feeling of tribal sense, something that you just feel connected. It's also on the other side of it, it's having a boundary. So there's like a light side and a dark side. So when we're not rooted, how are we feeling? We might feel either unsupported, or we might be on the other side feeling like maybe a sense of way too many boundaries. You can't let anyone in. So one side, like flighty all over the place, not grounded, just out there, maybe talking a mile a minute, just moving from one thing to the other, maybe eating in your car, eating while not just constantly eating out. On the other side, it's like closing yourself up to who's around you, not allowing anybody to really give you that sense of feeling like you're part of something else. So now, interestingly enough, when we talk about the root, we also kind of want to talk about, composition. That's how we kind of think about it. So if you think about the root is also kind of being something you're protected from, like your skeletal system. And so what do we need to nourish the DNA and the skeletal system? But proteins we need, because they break down into amino acids, and those amino acids nourish these areas of our DNA. So we're looking at red foods. Now, I know a lot of people aren't animal eaters. That's okay. We can get minerals from something else, but minerals nourished, like let's say calcium, magnesium, your amino acids, So things like that are going to nourish that area. So the other thing we want to think about too is if we're talking about a sense of being balanced and protected and grounded, we also want to look at the adrenals. So that's a huge, these are systems and organs and tissues and glands that are all associated with these chakras. So what do we nourish those adrenals with? Vitamin C. So vitamin C rich foods. And what are vitamin C rich foods? Red. They're peppers, tomatoes, things like that. All those summer fruits and vegetables that are out right now, cherries, raspberries. The other thing is you might want to work on the wardrobe, right? If we're not feeling that sense of groundedness, maybe try looking. If you don't have any red, get some red underwear.
That's kind of cute. I like that.
Red lipstick, right?
Right.
So, we can find anything in anything possible.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
About
it is. It's really interesting. And it's a very artistic way of looking at the body, which I really, really like. So red foods, proteins, vitamin C rich foods, minerals, those would be some of them. Now, I talked about affirmations, and I kind of go off and on with affirmations. I like them. Sometimes I just get out of the routine, but then I start reading some affirmations, and then I want to use this. So take it for what it is. If this is what grounds you, or if this sounds with you. So just a very basic one, you feel free to create one of your own. And so the one I created when I was thinking about it today is the one, it's real simple. It's just writing to yourself, and you can write it a few times in your diary, in your journal, or you could put it on a sticky note on your mirror. It's just simply, I am grounded and stable, right? Sometimes when we hear ourselves say it, like Dr. Laurie, I know that probably in your practice, how we speak, right? How our patients and clients speak says so much, right? And I'm really
about words, and people, when, they make jokes or self-deprecating, but that's reveals their inner dialogue, and it has power. And I know energy, so I do agree with affirmations and the power of words.
Yeah. And I think one of the first few meetings that I have with a client, it's very, very self-deprecating. It's just like, I can't do this, or I'm no good at that. So I always say, listen to the language. And I always tell them, how about you flip that and say, maybe up until now, I haven't been able to do that. Right. And our brains internalize that, and our bodies listen. Our bodies have ears, if you can imagine that, all over.
They do. So besides roots, I'm curious, because I love color, and I want to say it speaks to me, but I guess it does. So, what, like, root is red then, or they food associated? Okay. And then because there's 7 chakras. So what's the next? So
the next one is what you would call, I like to call it the flow. Okay. And the flow is associated with reproduction. It's associated with the urinary tract. It's associated with things that are creative. So when we're blocked in that area, oftentimes we don't have anything going on that we really are excited about.
Okay.
Movement, things like that, fluidity. So in your brain, fluidity, but also it's going with the flow. You finding yourself like, oh, this person is really irritating me, and you're irritating yourself.
Right.
All of that is flow.
Okay.
It's the emotional side.
Okay.
So when we're irritated at people, we're not really in that space to have relationships and feeling good about a partnership or relationship. Right? And also when we're irritated, or when and I'm not saying that irritation is wrong, but it's to pay attention to. These are all messages for us to listen to. So it's interesting, Dr. Laurie, that this flow is nourished by fats and oils, especially those omega You want to think about mental
Yeah,
health here. We're looking at, the omega-3s, which are incredibly important for the brain,
right.
which are incredibly anti-inflammatory.
Hmm.
And they play a huge role in our neurons, with our neurons.
Yes,
So,
because we need the cell membranes need to be fluid. When they're too stiff and they don't have enough omega-3 fatty acids, um, good things don't happen. So that's a wonderful way. So
mm.
what color?
So the color there is orange. So we want to think about, there's tons and tons of articles. If you look on PubMed, you'll see lots and lots of research on the beta carotene and vitamin A and reproduction.
Okay.
So, so yeah, so when we're deficient there, now it's not very hard to be deficient in vitamin A if you, sorry, let me take that back. It's not really very difficult to be deficient in beta carotene. However,
Mhm.
and I'm saying this if you are a plant eater, if you eat vegetables at least that are orange. However, it is sometimes difficult to get vitamin A because what happens is that conversion has to happen from beta carotene to vitamin A. That doesn't always happen. It
Okay.
can be limited in certain times. Vegans, of course, don't eat animal products, so it's very difficult for them to get the vitamin A. It's usually in dairy
Okay.
products, and animal foods, butter, and things like that. So, and the other thing is the liver. The liver, if the liver's not functioning at a good pace,
What
then
about flow?
have a problem,
Because it's
right?
the major filter of the body with all the blood that goes through it. So
Ah,
it's full. Yeah.
right, right. Liver and kidney health, right? So we might not, our systems of excretion and our systems of flow and bile production to move out the
Mm.
toxins and move out the fats and move out excess hormones that we've been building up. Exogenous hormones from the outside that we're taking in when we, maybe eating conventional dairy or conventional
Mhm.
products, or even just hormones from drinking your water that's not purified. We have lots of toxins in our environment, so we need to get
Uh,
rid of this.
yeah.
Getting that flow moving is super important. So what nourishes that? Well, you want to look at, all right, so how do we increase flow? Well, I think about anything kind of moist, water, obviously,
Hmm.
um, but also things that have a high amount of fat and good healthy fats like nuts and seeds, vitamin A rich foods. So for some that might be ghee, for some that might be, full fat dairy like yogurt, things like
Hmm.
that. If you're not eating that, thinking about orange color foods like the beta carotene rich plants, squashes, carrots, sweet potatoes, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And those would really, really benefit. So one of the things that I like to think about when it comes to that, to the flow is pleasure. And I know a lot of us right now maybe stuck in a house full of too many
Yes.
people or not
Enough
people.
people. Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people, especially I find maybe kids that maybe if it's an only child, right? It may be
Right.
difficult. It might be difficult. I think a lot of those groups may need a little bit more help in this particular area. So trying to find something fun, whether it's, when I have an issue that is, kind of bringing me down, I'm sitting with it, of course, but I kind of want to make myself feel a little happy. And so I really like looking at some of the comedy on Netflix. The other thing you can do is look at something called laughter yoga.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's you can check it out online. Just Google laughter yoga, and basically, I haven't really taken it for a long period of time. I've got it demonstrated on me, but it's a certain movements, and you do like this kind of laughter, and
And it really comes from like deep.
yeah,
With a belly laugh.
belly laughs, and these people start laughing like crazy, and yeah, and it's just contagious. So just even the movement, just making the face like a smile actually changes your brain.
Hmm. It really does.
Yeah. So the affirmation that I have for that is I allow myself to experience pleasure. So a lot of us don't allow ourselves to experience pleasure.
No, because that in the old days they just call it the super ego. That's the the critic inside. Um, yeah, it's really not good. So
Yeah.
so we have the root, which is red. We have the I'm already forgetting flow, which is orange.
Yes. And now the next one is the solar plexus, the third chakra. Now, this is one
Okay.
that I really, really love because it is so connected
Uh-huh.
to everything, and everything is connected.
Connected. Yeah.
I mean, and we're talking about mental health, flow. I mean, well, for sure, flow. Also, your root is definitely connected. If we don't have those healthy omegas, if we don't have
Right.
movement and creativity, if we go to the root and we don't have that sense of feeling stable, it's going to affect our mental health and well-being.
Oh, there's no two ways about it. And all these things, I know we're talking relatively superficially, but the depth of what you're talking about, I mean, you can just see it layer on top of layer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the solar plexus is one that I really have a big one for because the digestion is so rooted when it comes to mental health, right?
Mhm.
You've got the digestive system, pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder. And so here you want to pay attention to, any kind of digestive malfunction, any kind of bloating, any kind of maldigestion and maybe GERD,
Mhm.
reflux. But this can also be, having, again, looking at balance in life.
Mhm.
Uh, we can look at the, maybe being overly perfectionistic,
Mhm.
feeling rushed all the time and things like that. So that we want to look at the microbiome here. There could also be a kind of influx of issues with good and bad bacteria. Maybe that bad bacteria is overriding the system and we've
Mhm.
got some issues there, some overgrowth of bacteria. So here we want to be careful, right? We want to be careful that we're eating while we're calm and not eating while we're uptight and on the run, right? So this area is really, really important when it comes to power, feeling like we have a sense of power.
Mhm.
It's a sense of also using your gut feeling,
Mhm.
right?
That's one of
Knowing,
my favorite sayings. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So how do we nourish this area? Well, we nourish it, for one, um, by listening to your gut, but also looking at how do we feed that microbiome,
Mhm.
right? How do we increase the flame of this air of this system of the solar
Mhm.
plexus, right? This color is yellow associated with this. So it's foods that are yellow. It's complex carbohydrates and yellow foods like, maybe Japanese sweet potatoes or yellow potatoes, and looking at spices. I love
Oh.
about
Mm.
spices as part of your medicine cabinet. Like ginger and turmeric are both yellow and fantastic for the
They so
microbiome.
are. Oh my
Just
goodness. It isn't yellow, like when it's super hot, the fire, it's yellow. I'm not
yes,
making that up, right?
that's right. That's
So yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah. So if you want to increase that flame, whether it's your digestive flame or whether it's just a flame to get things done, start
Mhm.
paying attention to wearing more yellow and paying attention to maybe helping your gut, right? Helping your gut by adding more antimicrobial foods like herbs. Gosh, fresh thyme, dried thyme, basil, oregano, parsley, all of those herbs have amazing antimicrobial aspects to them, and they're fantastic.
That is wild. So so the solar plexus, yellow, power, and what comes next?
Next is another favorite of mine. They keep getting better. The love. It's our heart chakra. The heart chakra is not only the heart, though; it's the area. That's what the beautiful thing about this is that it's not just one thing. It's kind of the
Right.
area. It's the energy flowing around that area. So
Mhm.
love would be heart, the breasts. It would
Mhm.
be the lungs. It'd be the lymphatic system. So I like to talk about the heart as being whatever is good for the heart is good for the brain, right? And
Mhm.
we need
Absolutely.
good brain health to be in our best self and our best mood. So
Yes.
we want to think about this as like if you want to look at maybe physiological, it's lymphatic flow, it's arterial flow, It's also, when you think about like lifestyle or core issues around here, it's that compassion, but giving and receiving at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of us give,
Right, but
and
it's
don't
got to be balanced.
receive, right? So that's off balanced a bit. So how we can up level that is nourishing with green. Now I love this because in Oriental medicine, they call it Oriental medicine. Um, they they look at food differently. They look at food as kind of like whatever it kind of looks like is it's very good for that area. So looking at, if you think about looking at like Swiss chard or
Mhm.
collard greens, turn them upside down, mustard greens, what do they look like? They kind of look like the lobes of the lungs, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And I
Yeah,
just did heart and plant-based diet. So,
right. Yeah, so things that would also nourish that area, broccoli sprouts have so much research behind them regarding breast health. So look that up. Any kind of sprouts, but especially broccoli sprouts. Any kind of cruciferous vegetables would be like the cabbage family,
that's one of
Brussels.
my favorite words. Sorry, cruciferous.
It is a
And the
beautiful word.
broccoli does look like little lungs, you know,
Yeah,
capillaries, and that
right.
to my like warped brain, but or anatomical brain. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we also want to look at it. Those greens are also, what are they? They're expansive. They grow like flowers. They're very expansive. So
Mm.
we want to bring more expansiveness, right, rather than the contractedness. Now, if we're really expansive out there and we're just giving love and you're just out there, then maybe you want to balance that out a bit and just taking it in a little bit. And so maybe you want to have a little bit more grounding foods like those root vegetables
Mm-hmm.
and things that would pull you in, right? Be more rooted, right? Roots, carrots, potatoes, things like that, beets. So those would be roots on the contrast of the expansive vegetables. So here we want to look at, a lot of us have trouble with this area, this heart chakra, because we hold on to past grief or past
Yeah. Mhm.
hurts. So a chakra saying or affirmation could be, I forgive myself and others. That's a big
Love
one.
this. I totally love this.
Yeah, it's
It's
really
really, yeah, it's really, I'm really getting into this. So after
so
the
yeah.
green heart love chakra comes,
Now here's an interesting one. This is the truth, right? This is
uh-huh,
your throat chakra. So
uh-huh,
the throat here, we're also talking about the sensory organs as well. So it's kind of this area, but it's
uh-huh,
the ears, it's the throat, it's that whole area, the smell, the nose. So
mhm,
that's really, when we're clogged up or
mhm,
we've got scratchy throat, that is going to really affect our ability to communicate, right? You have a sore throat, you really don't feel like talking, right? So this is also correlated with speaking your truth. Now, this is really interesting, Dr. Laurie, because, and you probably will identify with this, some of the biggest clientele that I'm exposed to and I love helping are the women that maybe are just new empty nesters, or they've been like working working on the family and on the house and working as well as raising children, and they're doing a lot of stuff, but like their needs have not been taken into
right,
consideration. They're just doing, going, and they're just, as women, we've got to power it. When we got
right,
stuff to do, we're multitaskers and we're doing everything, right?
mhm,
There's a lot of men out there too that are doing the same. So what I see is a lot of times in this time of life when we're not speaking our truth, I see a lot of people with thyroid issues.
mm,
Now,
yeah,
maybe the thyroid issues came first. I don't know, but it's quite interesting that this happens,
right,
right? So untreated thyroid can be an issue also with
right,
cognitive function. So we want to really maintain balance with the
mhm,
thyroid. So this is I love this area of nutrition, in that so many in the hormone area, because it affects so much. It's not just our thyroid. It's
right,
everything. It's everything. It's like all of our cells have energy systems, And if that thyroid's not working, all of our cells are working much more slowly, our metabolism, heart, everything. So speaking your truth, clarifying your authenticity, that verbal communication. I like to use this affirmation, I have a voice and I use it.
I love that one
Yeah.
because, and it's women coming out of their creating the family and working on the family for years, and then almost sometimes forgetting their own voice.
That's right.
And rediscovering their own voice. I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And so interestingly enough, the foods that are high in iodine, like seafood, seaweed, I love teaching about sea vegetables. Those are all great. They're high in iodine, but we do want to be careful if we're hyperthyroid, or if we're not sure if we're imbalanced or not. If you overdo it with that iodine, that's not good either. So you want to be balanced. Now, having a little bit of, having fish every few days, that's a great thing. You're eating like loads and loads of sea vegetables plus, fish every day. That also can be kind of an imbalance.
Right.
So the next one that I really like, and this is our intuition, it's our third eye chakra right here. It's our insight, right? You know how you do yoga and they say, look at your third eye?
Right.
That's right here. And so this is also involving the pituitary gland. And you want to think about also your neurons and neuronal function. So mental sharpness, right? So, but it's also our feelings and our sense of like self-reflection. And that can be definitely out of balance when we're stressed out. And when we're stressed out, we don't sleep well. And then we don't have our sense of reflection, right? Because you want to be mindful when you're exhausted, right? You're just like, let me just get out of here.
Yeah, let me just get through. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm thinking, Miss Scientist Anatomy's thinking frontal lobe and limbic system. So
absolutely. And we lose touch with that sense of, our inner guide. It's
do.
almost like for a lot of people, it might be like the kitchen is their inner guide rather than themselves as their inner guide, right?
Yeah.
This is my favorite one because it's absolutely my favorite color, the blue and purple, kind of the indigo. And interestingly enough, blueberries and blackberries, actually blackberries even more than blueberries, have the most effect. That's that phytochemical, the anthocyanidins, have incredible effect on neuronal function, on memory and cognition. So we definitely want to pay attention to, when we're thinking about mood and mood health, eating those blue and purple foods, purple kale, purple potatoes and purple sweet potatoes. Those Japanese or Hawaiian purple sweet potatoes are amazing. What else? Eggplant. But
sorry, I'm a dog lover. Somebody likes eggplant.
Yeah. Yes, it's feeding time right now. So yeah, so the blues and the purples, and ideally we want the blue and the purple to, if we cut down the middle, see that blue and purple go all the way through that pigment.
Yes.
And that pigment is full of those anthocyanins, and that's what we want. When we cut that fruit open, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Also, let me kind of back with all of the fruits that we're talking about, eat those skins. That's why you want to buy organic. Like those apple skins full of polyphenols that are fantastic for the brain. So we want to make sure we're eating organically.
Right. And the depth of color gives you a hint to the nutrient density as well.
Absolutely. The more sun exposure, the more plant pigments, the sweeter the flavor. The sweeter the flavor, the more enjoyable. It's like nature's way of getting you to consume it.
Yeah, exactly.
And those little tiny seeds, when you eat that, it's beautiful fiber. When you eat those blackberries and blueberries and strawberries, all that is full of pectin and fibers and beautiful stuff that's going to nourish your gut bacteria and fill you up and give you, some good pleasure, natural sweetness, and really feed your gut there. So
yeah.
So there with the anthocyanins and the purples, I love that word is so fun to use. But the blues and purples, the other thing you want to know is, I can't leave this out, but purple, mood, intuition, mood, but it's also mood altering foods and substances. So things like caffeine
Oh,
things like alcohol. But here's where we want to be careful because a little bit is fantastic. You know,
right.
a little small glass of red wine is great.
It's
But when
amazing.
you're
Yeah.
having 2, 3, 4 every day, that can be imbalanced. So this is where, you know, we hear in the media out there, oh my gosh, caffeine is fantastic. Yeah, it is. It's powerful polyphenol antioxidant. But if you're sensitive to caffeine, I just did a whole webinar on this yesterday. If you're sensitive, you best be not over consuming caffeine or even having it at all. You know,
Yes.
stick to green tea if you have to, like matcha, or find, I'm very passionate to my matcha because I'm sensitive and I get the decaf green tea from Dough Matcha.
Okay.
Fantastic, fantastic.
I'm one of those fast metabolizers of caffeine, so I'm
Yes.
like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we do want to be careful that we are, you know, balanced with that, especially when we're not, let's say that this is where all the chakras feed together is when we're off on the root chakra, oftentimes we will be more sensitive
Mm-hmm.
to caffeine and to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting to me. So this one, I have created an affirmation, and that would be, I am in touch with my inner guide.
Ooh, I like that.
And that could be anything. Your inner guide could be just, you know, just your gut instinct or feeling. It could be just something, a message that you got while you're on your walk. It could be, if you're spiritual or if you're religious, it could be something that, a message from God or your messenger that you think of
Right.
and you believe in. So for everybody, it's different. And then I'll finish off, Laurie, with the crown. This is a beautiful one. And this is interesting because this is the spiritual. I mean, they're all spiritual, but this one is the spirit. This is the unseen. This is also talking about glands, the pineal gland, which is where we make our melatonin from. So we're off balance there. Maybe sleep might be off,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But it's also purifying
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, purifying maybe by doing some intermittent fasting. It could be also fasting, or it could be things like purifying foods. If you're not into fasting, it could be things like detoxifying white foods, you know, leeks, onions, those are fantastic. Garlic, those are incredibly detoxifying. Cauliflower is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Mashing some cauliflower, some olive oil, you know, doing a puree of something. Coconut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. So those are good things. And so what we want to recognize there with symptoms is we might kind of feel like we're off focus. We're just not there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is where kind of all the chakras sort of kind of culminate. And if we're off on all these, much of the time our area of the crown chakra is going to be off balance. So this is what I'd call like kind of the sense of the unknown, right? A sense of finding a higher purpose in life. And that can be off too when we have things like what we're doing right now, electromagnetic fields all around us that can, definitely interfere with sleep. One thing I like to do is I will unplug all Wi-Fi, the router,
That's so smart.
plugs all around my bed, and I sleep much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so things like that. I love using GABA. I don't recommend it for people that are just going to take GABA. It's something that works for me. You can do like herbal teas or valerian. Those are things that help with sleep, and calming herbs like passion flower. So those are
lemon balm.
Lemon balm, fantastic. I have some of that growing over here, and
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Great.
So so yeah, this is also detoxing the mind, right? So detoxing the mind maybe of the thoughts that aren't working for you, repetitive, like culminating thoughts, or repetitive, like that hamster wheel of thoughts that isn't working. Taking a look at that.
Yes.
Like how is that affecting me, right? It might be affecting my crown here. So, the awareness, Dr. Laurie, is just the beginning. And that is,
But you bring it all in with the chakras to organize it, but just with the colors and the energies and you know, um, the scientific aspect, all the
yeah,
nutrients, and just amazing how it all works together.
it's
Now
great.
one of my favorite freebies during the summit is yours. And
Oh,
what are you offering?
yeah. It's so, I put it together. Like I said, I'm a chef. I love food. And I really wanted to make it simple. And so instead of going overboard with a menu, I decided to make it simple for breakfast and just do chakra smoothies. And so each of the smoothies for each day there's 7 days. There's 7
Right.
chakras. We're going to do one each day, starting at the root. And so that, the root grounding is a beet, and I think I put sour cherry in that one. And then it goes all the way up to the crown. And I do, one of them is not necessarily a smoothie. Maybe a couple of them are like elixir type drinks, which are really fun to drink as well. But you'll have fun making them. And I also add in a lot of notes, so you can add different things to it if
Right.
whatever diet type you have, because we're all on such unique programs with our
Right.
diet lifestyle, so you can change it up any way you wish.
That
All
is
good.
great. This was so fun and enlightening. Like
Yeah,
full of information, but fun.
yeah,
Oh, thank you. I really,
thank
really appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah,
And
and if anyone has any more questions, or
yeah,
they
where can
want
I find you?
answers with their chakra systems, or just in general with their gut or with mood and things like that, if you just go to my website, it's really simple. There's a little button that you press. It's a pink button, and it gets you more information, and you can book a slot of time with me. It's super easy. I do offer free calls for information, and just
What's
even
your
if,
website?
yeah, it's catdillon.com.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward. Good. And I'm
yeah,
sure we have it in the email and the link.
yeah.
So thank you again. It's
Thanks
so
so
much
much, Dr.
fun.
Lori. It was great.